Okay, welcome back. Episode 4, working my way through the panel. Just going to continue doing this just about daily, and we'll see how long I can last. All right, today, as you can see, I'm down low, so you can't quite see all the way to the ground, but I've got this nice Pelican camera case seat with a seat cushion so that I can work on this lower area here. We're going to work on St. Dymphna's hand today. And another overcast day, so I hope the light is enough. I'm going to kind of check my exposure here. I might need to give the camera just a little more light to make it interesting. We'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll light that up just a tad. Okay. Hopefully that helps. We'll see how that does. So hey, thanks for joining yet again. So I working on a big panel like this, it'll maybe sound a little silly, but one day I'll be up on a step ladder, next day I'll be down low, and that's just how I maintain my health. I had a physical therapy friend who told me the next position is always the best position, so change it up. So that's what I'm doing, following his good advice. All right, very good. So we're going to start blocking out the hand here. You can see I've already got the drawing in place. If you want to see how that drawing was transferred to this canvas, you can check out the video on my channel that shows me using, yes, a VR headset to put it on, which is pretty wild. So we're going to get started here. Very good. So, like many of the other spots you've seen, or some of the videos you've seen, excuse me, I like to start with darks, really establish some of the dark values here to give me something to kind of compare everything else to. So I'm going to grab this darker brown here, and I'm going to lay that in around the hand here. So immediately, upon putting it down, I can see that the color is perhaps a little too dark, and it's not really accounting for just kind of some of the bounce light that's coming up. So I'm going to need to lighten that just a little bit. And I've done a few pre-mixtures here, and those pre-mixtures just help me move quicker. Because then I can grab just a little bit of that lighter value that's a little bit of a warm gray, and I will just pick it up and add it to what I was working on. And that's the way that I can quickly get things going here. Hey, Yen, good morning! Good to see ya! Yen is a very good friend who gets to hang out with me in the studio. We painted yesterday together for quite some time. It was a lot of fun. And so if you're local to Wichita, Kansas, yes, I have a studio, and yes, you can become a member of Wichita Fine Art Atelier and begin just hanging out with all of us as we create, learning more. Fun day yesterday. So as you can see, all I'm doing at this point is just putting in shapes. I'm just chasing a few of these. I'm going to make this just a little bigger, my reference. There we go. So I can see it. I'm just putting in these shadows. I'm taking note that, maybe there's some areas like right around the knuckle here where it gets a little redder. I'll just drop that in. And same for this side over here too. I just get a little bit of kind of redness on that knuckle. I've talked about it a little bit on the stream, how, you know, for doing skin tones, there's a part of us that is slightly see-through, and that means light travels through the skin and makes everything sometimes just a little redder because the blood's pumping, right? It's amazing how subtle those things can be. So I am just going to continue to fill in. This is, it's not terribly exciting, you know, these first few marks, because, you know, nothing has quite occurred yet. But that structure has to come soon. I also have my mixed black here. Mixed black is a simple combination of burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and for some of these areas that I think are kind of exceedingly dark, maybe the kind of crease the finger here. If I look at my resource, you know, there's this sort of very dark value here, and I want to begin putting that in and not to lose that. Now, if I compare that one that I just put down, and I come over to that same space between these two fingers, I can tell almost instantly that, oh wow, the one here is just a little bit lighter and a little bit redder. And what do I mean by lighter, redder? You know, there's color has certain attributes, and those attributes are, first and foremost, value. Value is the most important aspect of a color, and that value is just its lightness or its darkness. So imagine a grayscale. And then once you have kind of value sorted out, then you can start to think about things like the hue. So color has a hue, like where does this color sit on the color wheel? Kind of think about hue as like, where does it sit on the color wheel? Then you have saturation. So color saturation. How intense or how pure is the color? You can ask yourself that. And then last but not least, you know, this is a little wishy-washy when it comes to describing a color. You can also talk about warm and cool. So warm and cool colors being what, you know, it's your general, like, hey, reds, yellows, oranges are warm, blue, green, purples are cool. Now, sometimes that's not very helpful when mixing colors, because, oh, well, that color needs to be cooler. Well, it'd be a little more helpful to say, oh, that color needs a little bit more red, a little more red to it. But sometimes it's just easier to be like, oh, that needs to really cool off. And sometimes I answer that when people need help, and I don't know how helpful it is. And yeah, those are the attributes of color. So you can kind of be thinking about that. I mean, I know I do all the time. Think about first and foremost value, and you know, as I'm blocking in these darker values, yes, they have some color. There's some kind of orangey brown that's fairly dark. Yet I kind of need to start somewhere. So, and you can see probably the reference looks a little different than on mine, but on my tablet here, the light is there's this lovely kind of reddish color right here. It's quite beautiful, and I want to get that red finger. And I can't see any detail other than the kind of tip of the finger, and so that's all right. I'm gonna just kind of leave it that way. All right, onward we go. And the little lighter shadows. This shadow here on the index finger knuckle is lighter if I compare it to, you know, say the shadows between the two middle fingers and so on and so forth. So in a quick fashion, we've gotten quite a bit done here, just with our, what we like to call around here, our 2-value breakdown. So I'm just trying to get more or less a light and a dark kind of build of areas that are directly in the light, areas that are in shadow, and then we'll keep working from there. But first, we've got to get this through and done. I'm just using the same brush, so I'm not changing anything. I just, because a lot of these colors are working together, and the reason why I can continue to use the same brush is because I'm not like blending on the canvas. I'm just picking up color and putting it down. And I'm going to do that over and over again. Just pick up some color that's a little bit lighter value. I'm noticing on the shadow side of her ring finger. And I'm going to begin putting that in. It's catching a little light there at the bottom. We'll get to that and figure that out. All right, continuing, chasing just some of these shadow sides. You know, and you can see one of the things that's exciting, I think, about if you're breaking things down quickly into 2 values, right away, if you have a good source, like a good image that you're working from, right away you should find that your image is really starting to pop. Is it starting to really read, in this case, like a hand, with just these few colors? I mean, I've almost done nothing, and yet it's almost reading as a hand with just those 2 values. If we didn't have the lines there, we might almost see it. And while you're watching, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm watching the chat. I'm happy to field those as we go. In fact, it makes it a lot more interesting if you ask questions, because then you actually get to learn what you want to learn, not just whatever dumb thing comes into my mind that I say. So please ask a question, and I'll get to it. All right, getting that shadow side of the index finger. This nice little, so beautiful little cast shadow on the middle finger there from the ring finger. Very nice. Another thing that'll help too is if I put in the values back behind the hand, in and around it too, to continue to help to describe what's going on. I will do that here shortly. I was just going to add a little more shadow to the back of the hand. And you can see I've made a few lines to help me see where those shadows are. And there we go. A little bit there, a little bit here. You might notice the mark making that I am doing across the back of the hand is moving like this. And that's because I really want to emphasize the contours of the back of the hand so that it feels like it's moving into space. So most of my mark making will go rounded like this. It's amazing, you can use your mark to help you create volume. T-Mark, what's up? Do you normally have a brush for lights and one of the same for darks, or do you switch brushes? Okay, yes. So Mark, I like to keep a couple of brushes rolling. So right now that I'm just doing these darks, I've just kind of used the same one. But you're absolutely right. It's like you're seeing the future. I am gonna take a switch to a lighter value brush here in a moment. So one of the things I don't have in my studio is ventilation. So I use VOC-free paint thinners and mediums. And so I don't also keep just a bucket out to rinse my brushes. I just kind of rake them clean, and I just end up using a bunch of brushes in the end. Yeah, there's some light, some mid, and some value brushes. And sometimes I'll even like keep one brush specifically for blacks. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to switch up fresh brush and get a little bit of medium on the brush itself. And I'm going to dive into my mixed black, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. And here's where what I want to do is get to some of these really dark shadows underneath this. That black is probably a little excessive. Probably doesn't need to be that black now that I'm looking at it. But I know if I get these darker values in, this will also help sit everything in place. So everything's in kind of communication with everything else when it comes to your painting. So all colors sitting next to another color. It's all informing and actually changing the way you perceive those colors. So it's really important just to establish some of these deep, dark values so that as I continue to compare what I'm working on to those dark values, I will see, I think I'll see a little bit clearer. Yeah, and teamwork, I also use size changes. At times I'll use smaller brushes for edges because as I'm tiling these shapes in, I want to use kind of bigger, broader brushes for bigger shapes, and then I'll use kind of smaller brushes as I come around the form. Like each finger, you know, by the time we get to the edge, I'll be using kind of a smaller brush to get that edge, or using a flat on its edge so that it's like a line. Great question. Thanks for that. And like I said, you've like seen the future. You already knew what was going to happen. Okay, so you know we've 17 minutes, right, has elapsed, and I didn't even start painting right away when the stream began. But you know, a quick step back, and really you can see how the painting, even just these few shapes, are already beginning to describe what is going on. And I think that can be a really good thing to think about as you're working on your own work. You're like, if I don't have enough clarity in just a few moments, my resource may be bad, or maybe I've missed some values, and so yeah, this is yeah, we just want to make sure that we've got all those things on our side when we begin working. Okay, I'm going to get those last few background shadows in over here. As her hand is resting on her knee, and yeah, we'll do. I know I've mostly done hands and faces so far. That's also because I like to start with those. I feel like they really sort of set the tempo for the painting, and then I'll start working on other things around them. Yeah, I don't know. I like to look at them too. So I know if I start with them, then I'll be excited to continue the painting. If I'm like, ooh, I'm happy with how that hand turned out, and you know, so maybe later on, if I'm not as excited, or I'm feeling that kind of mid painting depression, that like, I don't know, me personally, I go through like every painting feels kind of stale in the middle, and I call it the like darkness, the time of darkness, where you don't want to do it anymore, and you're not excited about it, and all that initial energy that you had at the beginning is gone. It's really good to have some areas of a painting that you're excited about. You're like, oh, I really like that. So even if you're maybe not delighted where you are, or maybe how quickly progress is coming, or whatever, you can find some solace in these areas that are like, oh yeah, well, at least that's good. I do plenty of that. All right, I missed my shadow on this knuckle here. And you'll see this one move we're about to make is going to really provide the clarity on this finger. And this is just a shadow. We're just going to put this in here. Then all of a sudden, this 2-value thing is really going to start to take off. Again, we've not done much there, but now we can almost make out every part of the hand. And with just, I mean, a minimal amount of effort. We're going to put more effort in, don't worry. I know I can't see too much farther here on the stream, so I'm going to stop there-ish. And we'll focus just on the hand. Okay. Great. All right, now, much like Teamwork said, I'm going to begin making a switch. So we're going to start adding some lighter values to this. So I'm going to set aside my dark value skin brush, and I'm going to get out a fresh brush that hasn't been used yet to start adding in some of these lighter values. If you're in doubt and you're like, well, I'm still feeling, where should I start or what should I do next? You can always work from dark to light, and I really like that method. I think it's helpful to see and to make a next move as you just slowly kind of find the next lightest area. So if I look at the hand, some of the next lightest areas are certainly the light here on the pinky, and some of the light in the back of the hand here, maybe along the wrist bone. So that's where I'm going to go next. I'm going to start there, and I'll really zero in on this value right here, and I'll say, okay, I got a few pre-mixtures here. Let's see if one of these looks about right when I put it on. I think it's going to be darker than I think. That's one thing that I'll know right away already. Color-wise, I think it's a little purplish. I'm going to bring in some purple here. And I like this color too. It was kind of my warm gray. I'm going to start there. And so my mark making is going to follow the form. So we're going to start adding that in. It may be a little bluer and cooler than I would like to begin with. And I see some other kind of fun colors, even almost a greeny color. I'm going to just drop a little bit of that in for fun. Let some color energy happen. You know, there's like if you can kind of vary your colors just slightly, it's like creating this visual buzz that creates interest. So if I even warm up this area right here, and as you can see, my marks are all following the form of the finger, like the cylinder that's coming toward me. I'm just turning my mark almost like a bunch of rainbows, because I really want that to come forward, and the mark itself will help do that. A little more here, and you can see, see that got a little darker than I wanted. It's actually getting lighter as it comes toward this first knuckle. And so I need to kind of come back in here. And it's a little redder. So I'm going to grab some of this pink and see what happens if I put that in. It may be too pink. Yep, sure is. Easy to grab one of the other colors here to begin changing it. And now that cylinder that was like coming toward us is now taking a turn and moving this way. So I'll still kind of make the marks this way, but I won't make them rounded. I'll make them more straight because really we're sort of seeing a profile of a finger, whereas before it was coming for us. Now we're seeing like a profile. And then now we're almost getting to the spot. I mean, and we could exaggerate this. That's one of the fun things about painting, where like this last phalange bone right here turning in is like it's turning back in, and we can make some motion this way to kind of really make it feel like it's turning back in and turning back away from us, even though that's a little bit of an exaggeration as to what's really happening. That's okay though. That's what good painting does. You find those exaggerations. In putting those little bits of mark in, you can see, I didn't quite bump up to my shadow on this side. That's okay. I'll now just clean that up just a little bit. So I talked about keeping some smaller brushes around for that sort of a thing, and so I will do that. And actually, it's a little too small. Change it up. A little bit of medium just to freshen the brush, kind of work it in. I don't use a lot of medium. I almost use strictly paint by itself. All right, now I'm looking very carefully now at this transition. The light striking the pinky, and then we have that turn where the shadow, or it turns to shadow. And I'm gonna kind of look carefully along that and try to see if there's any chance to pump up some color or make a little bit of visual excitement in there. I don't see anything right away, and it looks fairly nondescript. So I'm just going to grab some of this kind of warm gray that I have here, and I'm just going to add this in just a little bit. You can still follow some of those lines I talked about. And I can see already that my shadow can be darker. And that's one of the things I'm always trying to do. Get into it quick. Get some things wrong so that I can see what needs to be changed so that I can make them right. So I'm going to do that here too, soften that up. And I can see that I haven't quite described the shadow. That pinky is in the shadow cast by the ring finger, and it needs just a little bit of evidence of that right there. There we go. It's better. Still looks strange because I haven't addressed this little area right here. Remember, a lot of times in painting, it's usually because like one small thing hasn't been done. Is the reason why it's like an issue? Why there's an issue? It's usually we've just missed a bit of information that really helps describe things in space. So I'm gonna make sure my shadow comes all the way down, and even though I'm catching the light on this on the side, I'm gonna just clean that edge up. Grab a little bit of my shadow brush. Remember, I'm keeping a couple of different brushes for different values. I'm just gonna bump up to that. I'm making vertical marks here. And we're gonna just kind of hide that back there now that that's there. And you know, this is the rough version. We haven't quite covered everything here. I'm still missing a little bit of color here and there. And let's see, I want a little bit of a bluer purpley. The pre-mixtures are nice because I'll see a color and be like, well, but I want that to have a little bit of a warmer and a bluer tinge. So I'll grab a little bit of it, and I'll use maybe a little bit of my alizarin crimson because that's going to give me the redness I want, but it's also going to give me the blueness that I want. It's kind of a blue-red, it really starts to kind of do what I want it to do in this space. Okay, so I don't think my shadow is necessarily dark enough on this finger right now. Now, what I don't want to do is get too carried away in this without dealing with everything else. So I will set that on the back burner for the moment, and I will come back to it once everything else is rendered up to the same level. Has this been rendered very much? Not yet, but it's the start, and I do need that start to begin getting a few more of these. Teamwork asks, what are you using for medium? So the medium I use is Chelsea Classical Studios Lavender Spike Oil Medium. They have some premixtures. They have a lean and a fat medium, and today I'm using their premixture lean medium. It's a mixture of their lavender spike oil and linseed oil, and so the lavender spike oil acts as like your turpentine or your solvent, and then a medium is generally a mixture of a solvent and an oil, and so in this case the lavender spike oil acts as the solvent. It's nice because it's not killing me, and it has a pleasant aroma, and I enjoy it very much. And it's a strong aroma, so I do like to state that for anyone who's like, oh yeah, I'd like to go try some. It's very strong. So if I use a lot of it, if I cover a big area, then I will. It'll just feel a little oppressive. The odor is a little oppressive, and I think to those who would be really sensitive to smells, it may not be the one for you. But my wife tells me I can't smell anything, so there you go. It doesn't bother me so much. Yes, you're right, Teamwork. The lavender oil does dry very quickly. So one of the blessings, I think, for the most part, I like it, is a lot of times I'll use it next day. I'm not using any other dryers or anything else in the paint, but almost next day, my colors are dry, almost. I like that amount of work time. There are times that I kind of wish, I wish I had a little more time to work into wet paint the next day. But yes, it is. It's quick. So I totally don't get it. I don't get it takes 2 weeks for a painting to dry. No. It's very swift. All right. Still seeing like opportunities for a little bit of shadow here that I've not really described. Again, the goal is to just continue adding this little bits of information, and really this is a block in, so you're not going to see a beautifully refined hand. And there's actually a degree to which I'm going to want to leave some of it loose so that it has some energy. We gesture with our hands, we communicate with our hands. So in a painting, there needs to be a level of kind of looseness and unfinishedness to it that suggests movement. I'm adding a little bit of light on the back side of the hand here. So this is probably one of the first lighter values I've put in. Notice the marks are still coming like this, rounding things like this, rounding it this way, so that as long as I'm rounding it like this, the hand will come forward. The mark is going to assist. I'm following the form with the mark, and that's going to assist in it just feeling more three-dimensional. Just automatically works that way. It is totally a cheat code for more volume in your paintings. Let the mark follow the form. All right, so I've added a little bit of light on the back side of the hand, but there's really not that much there, when I look at it. So really so now I'm going to start working on this finger. So as a matter of comparison, oh wait, didn't even get this one done down here. Getting ahead of myself. I had a little bit more light down here, and I wanted to capture that on the finger. Yep, that's nice. Making good progress, good time, 30 minutes, not bad. I always like it when it seems to be going well. It doesn't always go well. There's plenty of hiccups. Rema, thank you so much for the kind word. Thanks. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Again, I saw a little bit of a little more pink red right there in the knuckle, and there is generally like, and these are things you can almost count on. You have a lighter skin tone. You can kind of watch it. Things turn redder in the fingertips, redder in the knuckles. Like look how red the thumb is here, right? In comparison to the rest, like those are all things that when you just add them because they're there naturally. They're things that we don't think about, but they're there. It just adds to that level of realism. Those little shifts. Okay, that's almost there. What are we going to do this very bottom here? Fingernails, I think, are best described less is more, kind of like teeth. If you can avoid getting a really tight fingernail, you're going to be better off than trying to render it all out. Okay. I do want to get a darker value tucked in there, just because I know that it's a little deceptive how light that area is. I mean, there we go. See that just kind of sinks back now. We lose some edge. There's the kind of same value from the edge of this finger into that area back behind. That's exciting though too. Lost edges, very exciting. Okay. Next finger-ish. Maybe we need a little bit more down here. Okay. Next finger. Because this is a game of comparisons, everything is always comparison. This finger significantly lighter than this one, right? Because a little bit of like the knowledge piece of this is like we actually have a whole. The hand almost operates like a sphere. Kind of look at your own hand slightly. It is spherical. So if we can kind of pay attention to how that goes from kind of darkest to lighter around, and we have to be students of what we see and students of reality in order to be successful in our painting. All right, let's get this next bit in. I'm gonna grab some of this redder pink that I mixed up, redder orangey pink for top of this, because I see that right at the knuckle, just a little warmer, right where the light would travel through. I'm gonna drop that in first, and then I notice, okay, then the color is less red, and so I'll put in what I deem to be the color here. A little bit of light on the tendon that goes back behind that knuckle. Adding more of that color, still trying to follow the form of the finger. Let that come forward. I can help or hurt that with how my mark goes down. Right on the edge here, I feel like it turns a little more yellow. So I want to get some of this more yellower color that I put in. So I have a little bit of a 3 value thing going on here. I'm tried to make a really strong light side, which now that I'm kind of looking at it, this finger's looking a little slim compared to some of the others. So, and knowing the middle finger and index finger, kind of thicker fingers, I'm going to want to make sure that I don't make any mistakes there and make it look unnatural. All right, adding what I think, when I kind of look across the front, it's just a little darker, a little bluer, traveling down this way. And I put that color in, but you can see that in following it long, it is just not as successful as going around. So I'm going to really need to kind of then make some marks here to help that out. When it comes to a transition like this, making the mark can actually be kind of challenging, because like if I take what's on the brush here and I move it in here, it's gonna ruin my shadow. So I will at this point try to get something that's a little in between. Look to what may be the transitional color, maybe slightly red, and I'll begin to kind of add that. Yeah, it's definitely red throughout here. Okay, onward. We're gonna kind of move into the knuckle. And it's almost sphere-like. Certainly redder. I can see. I want to make sure that I, use that and exaggerate that a little bit. And then continue adding. I need a transition color on the outside. That shadow side. It's a little bluer than I initially put down. And that's okay. Remember, sometimes it just takes getting something down in order to then say, you know what, I got that a little off. That's all right. Just change it. A little redder here. No, and I certainly pushed that. Like, is it not natural, that red? No, probably not. But I pushed that just a little bit. I can back it off. There's nothing to say, you can't change it so that it's more successful. Can I bring out a lighter purple? So I've got this purple mixture here, but I need it just to be a little lighter. And I can begin knocking that red back just a little bit. And there, if I really kind of zoom in here, there's so many beautiful colors. And as you can see, the stream is always deceptive, but my image that I'm working from on my tablet is completely different than the image. It's a lot more vibrant, so I'm seeing a lot more color in what I'm working from, and I'm also pushing more color because I want it to be, have life and vitality, and making a piece of art. So it needs to be more than just an empty copy of something. But getting in, so I'm seeing just barely the edge of the shadow traveling with the finger. I could see the shadow cast down here. I can barely see that going up. So we will address that. at some point. Maybe not now, because again, we're just trying to get to the big stuff. Big stuff first. Again, back up to this knuckle here. Some of the shapes behind it, almost green in a way. So I'm gonna lean into that. It's kind of blue-green. Don't make that light enough. Too light. Bring that back down. In each of these marks, I hate to keep saying the same thing, but like mark, 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 all following the sphere. And it's going to really help bring success. I don't know, I wanted to soften that edge a little bit. That's something that can be done later. Okay. All right, on to this area here. I'm gonna look at it carefully. It actually looks slightly darker than here. I still may keep it lighter. Continue to push lighter to really give a sense of like, hey, this is the area nearest the light. If you just joined the stream, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, and please drop a question in if you've got one. Happy to answer just about anything. Getting ahead of myself, just like seeing another area I want to do, I want to work on. I don't really need to talk about anything I'm doing. So it's not necessarily like I'm giving a lesson. This is kind of imagine like you're just hanging out with me in the studio. I mean, what would you want to know? Be sure to drop into some of the other streams here and subscribe if you haven't, because I'm going to keep giving these streams on this big panel, so you'll get to kind of watch in the bottom right how the progress just keeps going. I know there's not a lot of detail there necessarily to be seen in such a small screen, but I think it's kind of fun when it comes to something this large to be able to, I don't know, to see how I work around the space. Like I said, yesterday I was on a step ladder doing St. Josephine Bakhita's face, and today I'm gonna get low, as the song says, and just change it up. So I wouldn't necessarily, and I can already feel it a little bit down here. I'm gonna spend the day down here, in this area. So as soon as I finish the hand, I'm gonna move up into the arm, and the arm will be my first priority. And then if that gets done, I may just start kind of filling in some areas around the arm, maybe back here. It's kind of whatever time allows. I'll engage. And yeah, so I won't be down here tomorrow. I'll be up someplace else, either seated or I'll just keep moving around. The next position is the best position. Right. So these panels are going to be fairly close to the viewers. And the first two that I did for this chapel, because they are next to the altar, they're not as, you don't get up close to them as much. These kind of the setup of the space will actually create a little bit more closeness, even if you're seated in the chapel. You'll see, you'll be able to see like these just a little closer up. So it would not be, we're talking about like 6 feet away. So I do try to think about that even when I'm rendering. Am I doing enough to make it interesting? And is everything going to be clear enough for it to be seen? This nice warm dark in here, inner webbing between the fingers. I mean, right now is a really good time. Been at it for 50 minutes, just kind of blocking some of these shapes in, but we've achieved some volume rather quickly, and that's a good sign. That means we're paying attention to the right information and not getting too ahead of ourselves. So, yeah, if you've just joined the stream, thanks for being here, and ask a question. It doesn't even need to be a question. Maybe you're more of a critical person and you just want to come in and be critical. That's fine. I can't see everything that you can see. It's one of the unfortunate things about being an art professional, career, is I look really hard at what I'm doing, and when I don't see what I want, then I'll change it and I'll keep working on it. So I'm kind of constantly evaluating myself like that, and it's kind of harsh, to be honest. Doesn't really do in the rest of life, right? It's not, that harshness is not helpful to anyone else. But I practice it all day long here in the studio, looking at my own work, and being ruthless with myself. Just one excellence is all. All right, that knuckle goes a little higher here. I need to add that highlight just a little more. So, saying all that to say, I can probably take it. There's not a thing you're going to say that I haven't already thought about, like, oh, that's not looking right, or I need to change that, or have you thought about this? So like I said, you can be critical if you want. Right, adding just a little bit of light on the upper bit of wrist. I'm getting getting off track, right? I was trying to kind of stick to finger, but kind of the more I work on the area, the whole, like I was like, ooh, okay, let's jump to that, right? Let's jump to that. So get back on track. That's what you can do. You can send me a message and say, get back on track. You're off, focused on the wrong thing. I'm just trying to get that red push. This would be a little too red maybe, but that's okay. So yeah, if you've been here since the get-go, you've seen this really materialize out of almost nothing. You know, and when I think about each day in the studio, I sort of set a little bit of a goal for myself and of what I'd like to get done today. So I know for sure today I really want to create a nice masterful hand and probably into the arm. That might be all I get done for today, but that will be well worth it, and a good use of the day, and a very satisfying use of the day. Some of the areas that are cloth will go faster later, so if I only cover a few square inches today, that's all right. It's a little harder, a little bit tougher than cloth. A lot more to get wrong. Yeah, and if you're watching this later, even 5 years later, you can ask me questions then. It's not like I don't have YouTube Studio on my phone and can't see those, so you're welcome to drop your question 5 years from now. Since I'm a smaller channel, I'm not as busy, so I can try to address those as they come. There's not too many of them. Okay, now is a good time to just kind of look and reassess, maybe add a little bit more into the wrist here. I see some nice greens in there, so I made a little bit of a green. I'm going to exaggerate it just a little. Remember, I'm not going to travel too far up here for this stream anyway, but I want a little bit of something to see as I make more permanent decisions on the hand. This is where it really slows down. So if you love TikTok and all that stuff, I don't know, you might as well leave the stream now. This is where getting more done is time consuming and slow. Because what I was able to achieve in this first hour. Now I'll spend the next hour kind of refining what has been put in so far. So here's where the changes come slower, but even if you were to make a mark on this video right now, you could come back to it and see, I feel like I haven't seen anything change in a while. But when I stepped back, I was like, oh yeah, it's this sum of many small changes, corrections, refinements that really start to make it sing. Soften this edge a little bit. I like that a little better. Okay. I think it's also a good time to put in something. So I'm going to set aside my brushes and I'm going to get out just another brush to fill in some of this color here, which I kind of have some of it mixed, but I don't know that it's a little too. I'm going to do a little bit of mixing here. Try to match the color of her skirt. So this is what I do beforehand. So I don't start a video with this because I spend 20 minutes or so mixing some color. Get a little lighter with some yellow ochre. It's certainly not yellow. I'm gonna really make a neutral of all these various things. I'm gonna add a little bit of green. I'm gonna add a little bit of alizarin crimson. It's still looking kind of yellowy. So anytime you want to neutralize a color, feel like there's maybe too much yellow, you just need to add the opposite, so opposite side of the color wheel. So I'm going to make up a little bit of a purple, quote unquote purple, and just put that in, again, just taking down some of that yellow. Okay, I'm going to add some white. Let's add a little bit of white. You can see that wasn't a little bit, right? That changed it a lot. I didn't have to do much to change it. But it's really starting to get closer now. And that might be enough. I'm going to add just a little bit of ultramarine blue. So, okay, I think that's pretty all right. I think just a kind of careful look, and in some ways it's going to be none too different from what's there, but it will allow me to begin to soften things a little bit. So I like that. I'm going to mix another color that's just a little bit darker than that too. Because I think I'm going to want a little bit of variation. I can grab a little bit of the colors I've already made. Okay, between those two, I think I'll be able to establish just some of the cloth around the hand. Everything you do in painting, every part is sort of communicating with the part next to it. So the more I can have just something here, the better off I'll be. So let's begin. Probably a little dark. That was my darker one. Let's see see if I like the lighter one. It's got to mix into it a little bit. Yeah, I think that's okay. This will also just further clarify my drawing. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see until it's just a little bit of paint or something there. Who knows, maybe I'll work on this part of the cloth tomorrow, I don't know. Just working in very rough. It always shocks me how when I start doing this, I see other things that I missed. So, if we need to get in between our fingers here because there is space. Beautiful gesture of the hand here I want to capture. And even back behind the hand, I'm still trying to follow the form of the knee. The knee itself is going to be this sphere. So I want to use marks that really bring that knee forward. I think it's a little darker as it goes back here. Okay. Even some in between here, this is going to be I just love this part of the process. Every little bit of information just increases a sense of realism, just the sense of these objects truly sitting there in space, just adding that little color between the fingers. It amazes me every time how it just begins to hold space. Okay. And then I'm just gonna kind of make this little messy edge here because I'll later on, that's gonna dry before probably I get to this, and I don't want it to be too not too hard edged so that it shows underneath whatever I work on next. Okay. Now we get a little bit of a sense, and I suppose I could continue doing the same thing back behind here too. A sense of kind of where all this sits. I also like a bit of paint to work into, because I'm going to have to clean up these edges. So if there is wet paint, then when I bump into that, I can work into it, and I prefer that. So I can even kind of bump into what I already have there. Just let it barely kind of bump into it. Keep some of those structures, kind of exaggerating some of the structure of the wrist, hand and knuckle, so that it really sits there solid, like almost like a sculpture. Another shadow inside here. This little fold. Okay, this is actually a really good space to be in right now, where I have mostly, I guess I could add a little more, I mostly have everything put in that is going to help me make good decisions. Even just some of this value here next to the thumb. And again, everything is informed by everything else. The more I have up, better off I'm gonna be. The shadow's really deep here. The cloth back behind. Dark, dark shadow. Semi-dark here. All right, I'm gonna finish up the shape here, and I'm gonna step back. Actually, I won't get up lest I knock over a camera. This will at least give me a sense of what do I need to work on in the hand. Okay. Set everything down. So where I'm gonna start first is, I've got a lot of the shapes in. What I'm missing is just a few areas where you can still see this. This is a ground layer, so this is just me putting a tone down on white, which is essentially the white gesso. And because I want to work on top of a color, on top of white, if I was working on top of white and some of these little spots here were showing white, it would really steal, like it would just stick out so strongly that we really wouldn't be seeing what's going on. So it's kind of nice. Those spots, those unfinished spots are they're a little camouflaged with some color. That helps. But there's still some that aren't quite yet dealt with. So I've got to begin working on that. Filling in probably those first, just so that everything has coverage. And probably, even in the live stream, I think it's almost hard to see those spots, and that's okay. But I see them here, and I'm going to get started. I think I'm really missing a shadow there. And this is where corrections begin. Everything has been rendered to almost to the same level. And now it's time to make more permanent decisions, correct the things that are wrong. This is where my brushes will start to get a little smaller as I need to be a little more refined. The shadow comes out a little farther. And you can notice, when I made the mark, and I may make a few other little feathery touches, but then I stop. The worst things you can do is just kind of constantly do this. So kind of come in, charge your brush, drop it in. Like this will remain interesting and the colors will remain vibrant if I don't just blend them into oblivion. If I leave some of them as they are, the end product will be much more enjoyable. Okay. This fingernail a little darker on this side. Yeah, this is a great time to bookmark. If you're still hanging out, we're gonna spend about another 45 minutes on the stream. Now, many small changes are gonna happen. I'm gonna just adjust. And this is just as I see it. I'm kind of jumping around, popcorning around, kind of, distracted, squirreling my way through the painting, But every one of these is is really important. Just adding that little bit of flesh in between the thumb and the index finger. It's there, it wasn't. So, I'm going to drop that in. Try to see this really hanging out in the thumb for whatever reason. Like I said, just get a little squirrely. It's a nice red. The edge of that shadow I want to capture. And this edge is a little kind of funky. And that's just because I need to work on it. I can start to be a little more specific on how the shape of the thumb. See, I think even this showed me, I need to get a little more of that first, yep, just a little bit there. So the shape, correct the shape. Cleaning up some things that I see. Sometimes I see that, oh, actually the spot that's undone really just needs kind of softened. So I can pull those two shapes together. That's not against the rules. This is usually where I get a little quieter too, as I'm looking intently, just continuing to very intently make changes. Seeing I want it to be a little darker behind the thumb here. And following the form. Hey, if you just jumped on, shoot me a question. What's up? What do you need? What are you thinking about? What do you want to know? I like the space here. It's a great opportunity for we're getting a little more light. I'm going to adjust the exposure on the camera some. Okay. Overcast day, inconsistent light. Excellent. All right, that looks better. Just kind of waiting for the stream to catch up, making sure my adjustments are okay. Two, this is another time that I like to check drawing. So I'm looking back and forth, asking myself, how can I just get a little closer to what I'm seeing, because every mark is a drawing decision, right? And so if I'm gonna bump something, I'm gonna make something go too far to one side or the other, and I'm just gonna get it wrong. Make a handful of little mistakes. This is also where I really start holding a bunch of brushes at once. T-Merc, to your point earlier, now I'm going to bounce between light brush, dark brush, mid brush. I kind of keep those charged accordingly. This is also where those liner brushes start to come more in handy, because I'm going to need to get into some tighter spaces, and while I really try to avoid using smaller brushes, eventually on the details of like a hand, I'm going to need them eventually. Pretty quiet in the chat. What questions do you have? All right, fine, you win the quiet game. I thought maybe if I was quiet, you would say something, but I guess you win. Didn't quite get this dark enough. I still want to keep it red. Bit of an exaggeration again, but I really want light to kind of come through, bounce around and on the skin and create some warmth in there. As I continue to just move around and refine, just chasing down little unfinished areas. And what I will do, like for the rest of my day, right? I'm not gonna I'm not going to put you through it, but I will come in and begin to take some smaller brushes and make adjustments. And I'll kind of do it a finger at a time, right? I'll zoom in on one and just work, move to the next, and kind of like we did before, only it's just a little bit longer of a process. I do want to try to put that shadow in, so maybe I will do a little bit of line work for you, so you can watch that happen. So the shadow I'm seeing is the one that goes right along this path, right here. The middle finger. And I'm going to do some crazy and basically grab straight alizarin crimson. And I'm going to start where I can first perceive that shadow, which is probably about right here. I'm going to carry this down, push a little harder as I go until I kind of get almost to the size of that shadow down here. Started at the top because I wanted it to be a little thinner and brought it into play. Yeah. We're going to do the same thing over here. This needs to go darker. And as you can see, we're actually missing our semi-occlusion shadow here between those two fingers. Again, amazing small change is occurring right now that will just really set all that into space. Just took away that little bit of light that was undone right there, and it changed everything. Well, I've got my little kind of liner and edge brush out. I'll take note that, okay, we've got like a little bit of shadow on this finger that hadn't been put in. I can do that in many places, really. I could kind of see that here. I will get to, I promise, a little bit. I'll hint at the nail, the fingernail. But it will only be a hint. Maybe I can kind of show you on this one here. Just a little bit on this side here. And just get these little marks. And you can see how the nail starts to show itself. And is really just kind of implied. It's really subtle implication that that's what that is. We all know what it is. As I said earlier, the same thing with teeth. Don't overdo teeth. Avoid it altogether if you can. Just usually never goes very well. I feel like I've only had maybe 2 or 3 paintings that were successful that had teeth in them. The rest were like, just ended up looking, you brighten them because, I don't know, you're trying to be flattering. And then they're like too white, and then you darken them and try to match more of the color that's there, and then looks like they haven't brushed their teeth. And you just keep pushing back and forth till somewhere it gets there. Still have to, actually, with the St. Dymphna right here, I do have a little bit more to do up there at some point. Kind of looking like the exposure is getting overexposed again. I'll adjust it. The light's changing, the clouds must be thinning a little bit. A lot of looking. Here's where the painting, it does really slow down. So it's also not surprising that there's only 2 people in here right now. Because this is where it's just all about study. Study, decision, kind of get more thoughtful and dialed in. So yeah, so I'm kind of only streaming the most immediate gratification thing that I can offer. Keep working on this area in the shadow. Be a little bit more specific. And maybe this is where I decide, yep, it's time to really begin rendering out that finger. Now, here's where I want to be very careful. I mean, I can render it out so that I lose some of the brush mark, and I mean, I want to avoid that if I can. So I'm going to take great care to try to add just a little more detail, but not too much, so that it still remains kind of loose and energetic. I'm noticing my shadow on this side of the hand here is maybe just not quite as dark as it ought to be, so I'm going to use a bit of a darker brush. I'm also going to take that brush and kind of soften this edge and move it slowly in. And already, sometimes it just shocks me, like, oh wow, that has more contrast and is also more exciting, and that contrast is really sitting it where it needs to be. I just didn't have that before, so all that's going to happen as we go these next few moments. So just try to get that just slightly more. I really am enjoying some of the color banding across here, and I don't want to lose it, so I try really hard not to just totally make this boring now. Also, feel my body starting to say, hey, it's time to move. It's time to not sit weirdly hunched over on a crate with a pillow on it. So yeah, we'll be wrapping up here in about 30 minutes. Actually, less than. adding. So it was even with this little liner brush, anyway, we're getting, I can get in a little tighter, I can add some darkness because it's really a feathery, sort of a very light. I'm bracing myself with my pinky since we're getting into some tighter areas. And again, this is just more cover up of things that are, you know, partway done and need just a little more refinement and cleanup. Two, I'm gonna, you know, once everything wraps here, I will step back. That's always a big, important part of painting. It's just stepping back to look at it. And hard to do on a stream. So that'll also, I'll make a lot of changes after I step back and I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't even notice that. I can kind of step back by just glancing over to the stream here, kind of seeing the hand from far away. Not quite the same, but it's close. So something I need to do. And this is just coming from slowly refining, right? My shadow on the ring finger doesn't extend all the way through here, and sometimes it seems like, well, it's working, it's fine, just wait. Well, we're gonna change it, make another change that'll help it for the better. Get a little darker. And it needed that. I'm getting a slight reflected light on that far side, and it's fine. I like that. Slightly darker down. Some mid-range brush. Actually, I need to set this aside. That's my kind of background fabric brush. And I don't want to get that too mixed in because I want to be able to use that to, again, bump back into what I'm working on. I'm excited. This is going okay. I tell you many times. It's not. So I think you're helping. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, making me better. We're also getting to the time where I start to run out of gas a little bit here, and having thoughtful things to say. So it may just get quiet. But that doesn't mean you can't shoot me a question. Feel free to do so. These adjustments I'm making they're just things I'll notice. I'll notice that, wow, that shadow is a lot darker than I painted it earlier. And I'll just go in and adjust it. Soften an edge if I feel like it needs it. But again, leaving some of the mark for just visual excitement. Clouds are really thinning yet again. It's getting lighter. I don't like to leave auto exposure on because every time my very pale hand comes up, it will, the exposure will change on the camera. Kind of like to set it, which does mean at times, weird days, that it needs to be adjusted. Seeing some of these is a lot darker than I have it. And also seeing it as an opportunity to pump a lot of color into the space so that even though it's dark, it's just red. And these are all ways to just create a little more visual interest in the painting. I'm just cleaning up this edge. You get to see that it's a little messy. So as you can see, I'm beginning to work on these fingers here in a refinement way, and this is just the rest of the day. We'll be doing this. Hope at the end, I'd like to, get out the gimbal and kind of slowly move the camera around so you can see it all finished together, because you're going to kind of keep seeing it piecemeal. And while I think it's sort of interesting to see the hole on the bottom right of your stream, at some point you're probably going to want to know what's going on in the other regions of the painting. Still finding areas that, for one reason or another, they aren't quite finished. So, or I've missed putting a little color down. I'm trying to stay on that. I think I can say overall I'm fairly encouraged by how it's gone today. I have a tendency, and I love to start hands and heads. Add a little more thickness to this middle digit. I just think it's looking a little thin. See the amount of detail that I'm adding to the fingernail and the nail bed. Very minimal. To look at it up close, it's almost nothing, and yet it does really end up working from afar. Well, and I said to get up close, but you really have to get it up, in a foot or less space to not just automatically finish it with your eyes. Which that's a lot of my goal when I'm painting anyway. Is just let the viewer finish it. Provide them with just the right amount of visual information so that they can see it and finish it as they look at it. Got about 10 minutes left on the stream. If you have any questions at all, drop them off now while you got me live. You can ask later too. I'll try to get to them as I can. Right now I'm trapped. Sitting on a crate. On a cushion that I suppose goes on a dining room chair. I don't know. It's one of the fun things about having a place like this, just random stuff shows up. That's right, if you're new to the stream, my name is Vince, and one of the directors of Wichita Fine Art Atelier in Wichita, Kansas, and streaming directly from my studio, which is accessible to any of the members of the atelier. And we've got a great thing going here, great community of people. So if you're anywhere near Wichita, Kansas, shoot me a message. Let's get together. Getting paint on my pinky. See all the little pinky dots out here. Don't worry, I'll wash my hands before I eat lunch. Maybe I'll get out a kind of one of the liners for my light values. And I'm gonna chase down a few shapes I see. It's a really nice kind of light blue. Right on the inside of the middle finger here. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, so I can soften it up some. See for like down here, see a little bit more light, and I can add that in. Again, be sure to check out the rest of the videos on my channel. There is a lot. I've done a lot of painting over the last, actually 6 years since I started the channel. Watch something else, throw it on in the background. Let it keep your dog company while you're at work. I don't know. Yen, thank you. Yeah, well, Yen, you're the best. Thank you. So glad to have you in the studio. And really just kind of softening, exaggerating, you know, sometimes I may come back and take out some of those things that I did, but I'm just continuing to add to it. So I'll just see little things like, oh, I didn't quite get that edge, but then I don't like it because, oh, now it's a little too wide. But that's why I like to have both brushes here, so that I can kind of carve that back in a little bit and correct what I felt like was just getting a little too big, a little too off. Yeah, because those edges are going to constantly shift. Let's see, what could I do for the last 5 minutes? I'll just keep refining. Maybe something cool will happen. This edge just a little bit. So what I was paying attention to here was like, I don't really feel like I've got that that knuckle in place. So I'm seeing some light, I'm seeing some kind of pink. I think I need to drop that in about right there. Maybe just a little more. That reddy pink here. Yeah, that's starting to look okay. The shadow is still not fully developed on that. And as you can see, the middle finger is still very blocky. I've not really dealt with it at all. Pull the shadow a little farther away from that edge. Yeah, that's helping. Looking back and forth here, and that might just about do it for today. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope there was something of value said or picked up, and yeah, scroll back to the beginning and just take a look at how far we came in a short 2 hours. Again, drop me a message if you're feeling like, oh, what happened here, or what was going on there, or whatever. Ask questions later. It's all good. We'll get to them. Appreciate your presence. Have a good one.